What's up, guys? Welcome back to TCG Scripts Podcast. We took a week off, and we're back. It should be coming out on New Year's, so Happy New Year's to everybody.
And happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday to Colin.
Born on New Year's.
Yeah. So close to Christmas. That sucks. But
yeah, it does. My birthday's usually not celebrated on the 1st.
But as usual, thanks to Happy Little Hook Factory for helping, sponsor many of the things we do on this channel. If you guys want to visit, and the link in the description below. You can pre-order the new set that's been coming out. We've been sorry, I said below and he pointed up, so it confused me.
You're like, well, wait, did YouTube change again? God, YouTube?
Sorry.
Anyways.
Okay, serious.
You guys are pumped up. The spoilers we're seeing. You can pre-order the boxes over at $80 per box. And that breaks down from there if you order more like 3 to 6 boxes range. And Colin, do you have anything else to add on that?
Yeah, just remember also they have singles and a buy list, and be sure to keep an eye out if they end up getting in singles from the new set when that comes out. I don't know if they'll do pre-orders for singles or if they'll just wait to get in stock from opening boxes or from their buy list and all that, but keep an eye out. They usually have really good competitive pricing for a lot of that. Also, be on the lookout. Today should be the release of Ruler School's project, where they basically had a bunch of different YouTube channels for Force of Will create different segments of video explaining the game for newcomers and stuff like that. So our video that we did is on combat and how to do that. I think I did a pretty cool video for it. So you can start on our video, but it's recommended you start at the beginning. Ruler School has a playlist, so you just click on the first video and it'll navigate you to all the different YouTube channels that participated and links you back to Ruler School. So make sure to check that out. It's a pretty cool idea he had, and yeah, there should be some. I'm curious to see what everyone else did for their videos. So.
Yep. And also to patreon.com. Our patrons over there help support so many things. We have some cool artwork coming up here soon. That'll be going on a playmat.
Yeah. And, hopefully it's cool.
That to come in. Hopefully. And yeah, so let's just jump into it now. That's enough intro, I think. So we're joined by Team ARG's Colin. As I think it's trademarked by Ryan Miles, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't expect you to introduce me. I was like, oh yeah, we gotta introduce Josh. You're like, and introducing Colin. And I was like,
well, I was gonna introduce a special guest second, like hype up the intro. And joined by Josh, also known as Sigma Patton. He's been with us before in the financial kind of coverage when we talked about some things. And you have a YouTube channel now that you and your team are doing, right?
Yeah. So we just formalized our YouTube channel. We are called Rogues Guild. We function as a competitive Force of Will team, and then with that, we're also going to be producing content along those lines. So very excited for the opportunity. It's going to be awesome.
So we'll link that in the description down below. So you guys can check that out. And you also recently, do I have it wrong? The online GP. Did you win that, right?
I did.
Okay, there you go. I was wondering, I was like, you won, right? You're like, no, I got second.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no.
Yeah, no, man, I lost very good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that online GP, that was actually a lot of fun. When I started that tournament, the concept was just to join, boost the numbers, help Benjamin Bargatze out, to in the future, if the company wanted to recognize online GPs, just make sure my interest was in there. I mean, when they were asking for deck lists and everything, I was in the hospital. My firstborn had just reached there. I'd just gotten home. I was still in crazy, early dad mode, and I'm just like, I can't play cards too.
Yeah.
So, I ended up texting Ryan. I was like, hey, Ryan, you played this Lumia list in Atlanta when all these cards were illegal. Can I has it? And he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, use it. And I was like, cool. And then so the journey began.
That's awesome. And so you ran a Lumia deck. I know, if I had done it, I probably would have ran Turbo Feed Sing, only because that's my go-to when it comes that format. But that's cool. So you did it, and I'm sure he wants to do another one of those at some point, right?
Yeah, I think he does. He got a lot of enjoyment out of the early participation that everybody had, and especially that number, and then Bargatze himself, he's a good player, so joining his own tournament, he made top 8 before he got unfortunately knocked out by me, so
Yeah, I played him round 2 in that Popper tournament that when Jeremy at Ruler School used to run tournaments.
Yep.
And he took that one too. He won that tournament.
Yep. Yeah. No. It's actually been. So I didn't realize it because I didn't pick up on his screen name. But when it came time to play him, when I went to go message him on Discord, we had already had chat history. And I'm like, what was I doing back in February? That like I was playing you, and then back then I did. I got stomped by him. I didn't realize it was him, but yeah, he stomped me in that same tournament. And then in Ryan Miles' deck challenge, I made it to the second round on a mono red split heaven deck, and he ended up taking me out of that damn tournament too. So up until this one, I was 0-2 against him, and I was like, man.
That's awesome.
There was another tournament Jeremy had in his Discord, and I played you, and I didn't realize I played you. Yeah, it was the IU tournament. I was hyped on that one, and then we fast forward to like I think we're establishing like a chat where we're saying something. You said something to me. I was like, "Oh, I played him." Oh,
right. And Discord's like your little history. You're like, "Oh yeah." Same thing happened when I was preparing for ARG Indy. I was getting my butt kicked by a European who I found him on Untap randomly, and I'm like, hey, can you play Black Green Fair? And he's like, yeah. And so he just whoops my butt for an entire day playing Black Green Fair because I'm like trying to learn the meta, and I'm like, man, crap, I can't beat this deck. And then it turns out in the OGP, I'm like, oh crap, you're JPK. I didn't realize that. Like, cool.
Yeah.
JPK helped me prep for ARG Indy.
That's
Didn't
awesome.
help. I lost all the fair matches at ARG Indy, but
Yeah.
you know, it's cool. You just all of a sudden you're just like, oh hey, I guess you are somebody that I've met before. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping with the success of the GP, because it sounded like the company might have been willing to look at it more, but the thing that sort of staved them off was the format they chose, that sort of weird section of time format, essentially. I forget, wasn't it golden something?
Yeah, they called it the Golden Age, and essentially it was it was a time capsule. It was everything Alice up to Vingolf 3. So it was like right in that time from Vingolf 3 release to Return of Dragon Emperor. It was all those cards that were legal. So this was before our Griffin, Hook, and Prisha ban, so everything was legal. But yeah, no, it was. I think there was a couple issues that I had with the tournament. One, I would not have had as much fun in that tournament if I'd have gotten knocked out round 1 or 2, and then had to wait like 2 or 3 months till everybody else kept playing and having fun in this tournament. Like single elimination in all of our GPs is specific to top 8. So you've had a whole day worth of force of will before you just aren't like you can't play force of will anymore. In a single elimination online tournament, I mean, God, especially when it goes like 3 months, like what do you do? What do you do when you're the casual player that just you got knocked out round 1? You gotta wait 3 months for the next tournament,
Yeah.
So I'm a big advocate for Swiss. I understand that Swiss is very hard to organize, but when you're playing 1 game a week, like that was my other complaint. It was like this tournament, after 8 rounds, it took like 2-3 months. It was a long tournament,
Yeah, and like on his stream, Jeff was saying he wanted to roll into his online tournament that he had advertised some time ago, but didn't want to do it just yet because he felt like there'd be people who were kind of like sort of exhausted after this tournament just ended, that they wouldn't jump in immediately either. So he's kind of waiting it out. But
yeah, and honestly, like I would say, he had mentioned that in his stream. He's talking about the hype of the OGP, and I think the hype was basically gone while we were doing our top 16. Nobody was really interested in what we were doing. Like I had to go out there and advertise my games every time. Like, hey, look, remember this big tournament that we were doing? Like, important stuff is happening.
yeah,
Come watch. And it really, like, I don't think anybody honestly cared. I think it was the last hype post I made after I won the tournament of like, yeah, America. I think everyone was just like, oh yeah, crap, that mattered.
No,
Like,
I think it just came down to, and it's what Force the Will goes through, is just like, I would have looked out for either, was it Patrick's or Benjamin's post, really advertising it, talking about it, keeping it. It's like Force of Will and their GPs, and we don't really get those hype posts anymore. Like, oh, congratulations to I don't know why he defaults in my head. Alex Landon for winning or whatever like that. Something along those lines. Like, you don't see that stuff.
Yeah, we definitely don't see that.
Well, obviously, but I mean, like for the WGPQs that have happened, like Ryan Miles won it. You don't see stuff that's advertising it, and I think the reason why he popped in my head is because he was one of the ones who more recently was outspoken about that. Like, why aren't we seeing, the top 8 list posts, which we are now, and why aren't we seeing like Force Will really hype up a WGP or GPQ, whatever, ended, and here's who won, here's your top 3, here's a photo of top 8, like things like that, like really keep people interested and keep them going.
Well, I mean, I will say, like, what you saw in Minnesota was essentially that store grabbing the reins on that. So, like, all of our pictures of our top 8 players came from the store itself, right? So Svetlana took care of that. We didn't get any top 8 pictures or anything out of ARG, for the most part, I think they were hit and miss last year, even with some of their Circuit Series stuff. Sometimes we would get it, sometimes we wouldn't. But yeah, top 8 lists are actually coming from the judges themselves, which are just players that are automatically intertwined into the community. So it's not coming as a natural function of the company. That's just more of what us, the players, are doing to make sure the game does what it's supposed to, right?
Yeah. I guess something we'll have to hope that keeps up, since other stores will now be hosting these events, and kind of hope that they get somebody who can take the images and post them everywhere so we can kind of keep that shared.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the stores can do. Honestly, I need that schedule to come out like yesterday. I've been jumping for that schedule.
Yeah,
a lot of people want that schedule really bad.
I love that Oscar's prophecy came true of like, you know what? I bet when they say there's not going to be off season, there's going to be like one GP, and they're going to call that. See, there wasn't an off season, and then that's exactly what happened. I'm like. And we're getting our list even later this year of GPs than last year, and it's like, hey, listen, guys, it costs money the closer we get to a GP. It costs more and more money for our playing, and I really want to go to GPs this year. And any GP that's happening in January, because they're going to do that, and any GP that happens in February is probably an automatic no for me, because just money-wise, it's going to be ridiculous for the playing. So I'm pretty bummed out that we haven't gotten those lists yet. Because I really want to go to more GPs this year.
I mean, at this point, all that we have is we have rumor of ARG trying to do a WGPQ in Vegas for the weekend of February 16th, I think.
Oh, did they say the 16th? Okay.
So it was somewhere in the comments. I think Billy Buttons asked for specific dates, and the gentleman in charge of ARG ended up confirming.
He didn't reply to my message.
Sometime, maybe it was yours.
No. I had messaged him on Facebook privately. I was like, "What dates are those going to be?" And just never heard back. But go ahead.
But other than that, ARG's doing the Circuit Series in March. They're doing Charlottesville, or somewhere southeast coast.
Yeah.
And then Chicago, end of March. I am expecting that one to be huge, absolutely huge. I've been waiting for Chicago. Oh yeah, when Force of Will did I think Stephanie did the poll, and it was, what city would you like to see GP in? Chicago was by far number 1.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, the Midwest has such a pool of players, and I think Chicago would be a fantastic central hub for that.
That'd be cool. I'd be down for that too.
Chicago is also an easy airport to fly into.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, O'Hare is pretty cheap.
That does sound fun. Maybe did I go there at some point? I don't remember. That sounds familiar.
I feel like their off-season thing would have worked better had they just not depending on WGPQs or be running stores. I think what's taking so long to wait for it, like Jeff said, they're waiting for confirmation from certain stores until they can announce the dates.
Here's the funny thing, because we had the ARGGP and we have the ARGGP possibly in February, and possibly another ARGGP if I could put money on it. It'd be funny if like they're like, oh yeah, we're having stores do it, and then they realize that doesn't work. So like, ARG take care of this for us, and essentially it just becomes ARG GP season more than it is the stores hosting stuff. Which I know the stores are technically hosting the ARG, but it's all funneled through ARG, and so they're essentially just handing over the reins to ARG, which would be a very interesting tactic, and I think is more so. And based on when Jem messages about these ARG GP functions, it sounds like it's a last minute Force Will going to him like, hey, can you do this for us? Either that or him offering it at the very last minute, but none of it's been planned with ARG. It's all last minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and ARG, I think all last season and everything I've known about ARG is they don't really have a schedule except for 3 months, maybe in advance. They just that's all the further out their events go. So I don't really know how that works, but it does honestly look like ARG is going to take the reins on a lot of these. I mean, especially with all the stuff that we hear about online with local stores. I can't imagine that we have 7 other Games and Geek.
Mm-hmm.
That have the capability of hosting a WGBQ. Yeah. Like I can't imagine that happening. If we did, we'd have heard about it.
Yeah, no, because you'd for sure at minimum have, because the way these are structured, you'd have at minimum the stores starting to promote it, because the stores, the bigger they are, the better it is for the store. So outside of the company, the way Games and Geek did it, obviously Games and Geek being a GP was late in the game, but once they were a GP, they advertised the crap out of it on their own without any, push from the company, I'd assume. So it is interesting. We haven't heard anything from individual stores, because I feel like the U.S. group in particular has a pretty good pulse on what the big stores are. And the fact that no one has said, like, oh, yeah, my store owner is talking about it, or our store owner came on, like, hey, would you guys be interested in such and such, or anything like that, I find kind of interesting. Unless Forcible is purposely trying to keep it super under wraps and stuff like that, it's kind of weird that we haven't even heard, like, inklings of any potential stores.
Well, I think one of the big things that they're also trying to avoid is they're trying to avoid giving out false information. I think this is something new for them, and especially when it comes to like stores being able to commit. I think the last thing that they want to do is release a potential schedule and have stores drop and stuff along those lines. I think they would get more flack for that than just delaying the schedule like they have.
Well, they might have just pushed it really hard on the store owners of like, don't say anything about this until we release the official schedule to anybody. But, I mean, it could turn out to be a good play. Like, me personally, I'm still going to probably prefer regular GPs, just because the event of going to an event center and having a vendor there, and you're in this big old auditorium and stuff like that. Just the feeling of it and stuff like that is just really cool. But having it at the stores could potentially be a really cool thing, because it can create potentially more Games and Geeks, which we would want. A store that's a medium player level can suddenly become on the map at a higher player level, because more people know about it who didn't know about it, who maybe are close by in the area. They advertise maybe if they have an online storefront, which helps them grow bigger, which helps any nearby areas grow bigger and stuff like that. So it could potentially be really good if it's executed well. And so I think we're going to just have to wait and see how it's executed.
I think from my understanding, though, so I didn't go to Minnesota. I wanted to, but I was in a hospital.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure day one was not actually done at Games and Geeks. I'm pretty sure Games and Geeks had an event center of sorts, or some kind of conference hall in which they did day one at, right? The only thing that they did was day two, they brought it back to their store. Now, since I went to GP Collinsville, right, that was my first GP I've ever been to, using the same room for day one and day two, that was actually a little interesting. It was very quiet in there day two. It was a big open space, and it wasn't really welcoming for card players, right? Those that were sticking around for day two just to casually hang out, maybe get into a couple secondary tournaments, right? So, like, in my mind, like, having these stores be able to be the day two, they don't have to handle the 120 person crowd. They have to handle like the 50 person day two the walking traffic, the like before I leave, I want to hug my best friend or get an autograph from some YouTuber or something. You know, like they have to handle that kind of traffic. And then for those that do stay behind, you're back into the game store environment, and you're also drumming up hype within that store. Like if Magic players come in or if Yu-Gi-Oh players come in, they're like, hey, what are you guys doing? You're like, yo, we're just top 8 of this awesome tournament that we're streaming live, where all these people are watching. Like, you should be a part of this game. Because and that was just my experience at Collinsville. Day 2 was it was super quiet, and if it was in a store, that would have been wonderful.
They also broke down half the room at Collinsville. It went from the full size to like half the size. And I know when we went to the 2 in Richardson, they just kept it the full size. And I feel like there was more people at Day 2 in Richardson both times we've been there than there was in Collinsville for all the side events.
Side events are the key. I personally love side events. If they have cool ones and stuff like that. So, but especially and back to your point, going back to that's a good idea, obviously, of doing a big auditorium or something like that, and then switching to the store for Day 2. And it's also super cool, especially if it's at a store like Games and Geek, where they sell Force of Will singles and product and stuff like that. I love that type of stuff of being like, all right, I'm knocked out inevitably, so now I come in Day 2 and I get to just immerse myself in Force of Will stuff, play some side events. Oh, I won a box. Let me open the box and trade in some of these cards with the store owner and get some different cards with that trade-in credit, since I'm only here for one day, which works out really well for the store owner, and different things like that. So if they're all like Force of Will stores, and they're not just stores who are doing other games, and they're just like, oh, I guess we can host this Force of Will thing. If they're like that, not necessarily level Games and Geek, but that same enthusiasm for the game, I think it could turn out to be really nice, because it is more of a tight-knit, close atmosphere, and could really help drum up individual hype on that Day 2 and help people stick around type of thing.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I'm wondering if like Alan Hicks would get to host one, or he has Geeky Gaming and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's not too far from us.
Yeah, I know Alan's really hype about the game. I got to work with him at Gen Con, and that was the first time I got to meet him, and he was really cool. I liked him.
Yeah,
he is. No, that's because if I remember right, he doesn't have the biggest player base, but he has all the product and stuff like that. Doesn't need to do it just because of everything he does. So that would be super cool. I think
he's got the product and the heart to do it.
Yeah, he would make it work. So I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah. So I think we talked that to death. About GPs and all that. We're trailing off now. But something I was actually wanting to bring up, and Colin doesn't remember this, but Josh, I want to know if you remember. You remember when they announced Casters and then they announced Architect? Do you remember the third card game they announced?
Casters, Architect. No, I thought those were the only two.
See?
No.
Is this a case of what's his face? Was it Mandela? I thought he died, and you're like, oh no. Is this a Mandela effect?
So I have it pulled up here, and I'll show you the links later or whatever to show you the proof. But there is also a post, and here I'll pull up the date so I can. Okay, so March 21st, 2017, on Facebook they announced that they're making a new anime that was tied in with the card game. It's going to be called Dominator. And it was kind of like this thing where Force was associated with it, but it was also this company that was working on it. Kind of, I guess, the way Casters was another company, and Force was working with them. And they had a GoFundMe, essentially, like a Japanese-based one, whatever company they're using on that end. But where they're trying to raise apparently 10 million yen. They ended up raising 17 million yen.
I actually remember that, yeah.
$10,000, I think it is. And
So
I wanted to talk about this a long time ago on our podcast, but things came up. I remember Colin ranting on the rewards from a couple weeks ago, where I took up most of the podcast. But I was waiting to talk about that.
I'm still almost a month ago. To be fair, you reignited that recently. You're like, oh yeah, blankety blank. I was like, right? I'm not gonna touch it. Yeah, just know that Oscar wasn't happy either, guys. Regardless of what he says. All right, continue.
I'm gonna call. Like, you know what? I'm not gonna rant anything unless you guys agree with me next time.
I did.
We're not happy with him on that podcast.
It wasn't about. It's because reading the comments, I told Oscar this. Unless I have someone who like shares my opinion, sometimes have trouble conveying my thoughts correctly for people to understand. And from the comments, people were like saying, "Well, what are you talking about, blankety blank?" And I was like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to say that. That's not what I meant," and stuff. So I need someone who's coming from my point of view. So when I say something, they could be like, "Oh, so you mean blankety blank?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I mean." I need someone to translate what I say because I have trouble with that sometimes.
Anyways, Dominator was the name of the card game, and they had released a bunch of images, kind of hyping it up when they had announced it. But it was recently announced that they're letting it go as well. So we kind of saw they let it go of Casters. It was confirmed with Jeff on stream that they were no longer part of Casters. We haven't heard anything from Architect, and then there was an official post on the Japanese Twitter for Force of Will, as well as on the website, saying that they were also letting go of this Dominator card game, and they're actually handing it off to Bushiroad, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I was surprised that none of y'all remember this. I
vaguely when you talked about it, I vaguely remember it, but it could be because it was like Force of Will wasn't 100% involved. I sort of brushed it off or something like that. And side note,
I remember the anime money, the GoFundMe. I remember that one, but I didn't remember a card game being associated with it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an anime and card game thing. I guess like
a Yu-Gi-Oh thing.
All that. Yeah.
I like how you went to
like
Vanguard, not
needs to
Yu-Gi-Oh.
be.
Yeah, like everybody wants Force of Will to be.
Yeah, I do. I'm attached to these characters, man.
Yeah, if only someone could do some sort of lore videos for it, that'd be super cool.
It'd be cool they got back in touch with Ultra Pro again to make some more cool product like playmats and banners that we can start getting.
Dude, it'd be cool if they got Okay, yeah. I thought we were doing a cool rant, but whatever.
Go ahead, Colin.
No, I don't want to.
You also like Force of Will for certain things.
No, I was saying if they made a partnership.
I think we did.
Last time I was on here. Hey, what supplementary product would be cool if Force of Will... I literally remember talking about this.
You know, it's just sort of like, what are you talking about? You know what would be cool?
Real quick, speaking of Force of Will can't make other card games, it's funny just like clicking on the Architect's official page and then being like, all right, here we go, guys. We're going to do spoilers. And they did like 3 posts of spoilers and then just have nothing since then. And it's like, wow, you guys couldn't even do like some spoilers. Somewhere along the way, someone was like, why are you showing them that? We're gonna kill the crap out of that or something. But I'm still.
That was the only cards that they made. Like that was it. Like
yeah, I know. They're like, wait, that's all we had.
That was it.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's funny because like they announced those 2 and we saw the gameplay, how they worked, and we tinkered around with the gameplay, and I was like, all right, Caster seems okay. Architect seems super fun, and like, Casters came out, and I was like, okay, I'll play this, and it'll supplement me until Architects comes out, and that's literally what I looked forward to for like a while. And like I told Oscar, I generally don't remember what it was, but something about the gameplay of it like really excited me, and now we're just never gonna have that.
See, what got me out of Casters was they start leaning heavily on the girls, even more than they did.
Dude, wait! Did you see the new spoilers?
Were gone.
Did you see the new?
It looks like they're going back to the silly monsters.
Yeah, they are. I got so excited.
They look much better than they did before.
The art looks a lot better. Yeah, the silly monsters don't because before they had sort of a 2D flat look. Now it looks like legit cute monster type of thing, and even like, hey, it's a girl, but she is a monstrosity cute girl, and it's like, that's cool. They're like all the different things stuff. So after seeing those, I was like, ooh, I might jump back into Casters. I'm gonna wait and see what the card quality is, though, if it's gonna be as good as it's been before. Because I still think I didn't know what the newest set was, but the set that I left off on was, I think, better quality than most Force of Will stuff. Honestly, I don't know why. If they used 2 different print companies and then some were switched, but I'll have to wait and see what print company they use, and that'll be my deciding factor.
You've even because that in the U.S. I saw Dylan Hunt commenting on one of their posts about how they can't find any pre-orders under their distributor list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he wants to do pre-orders for the store, but they're not seeing anything yet.
Man, Force of Will mishandled the crap out of casters. So hope maybe it's just the new company figuring it out, but hopefully they can handle it better than Force of Will did.
In
I'm
other
just glad
news,
casters didn't drag Force of Will down with it at the end of the day. I'm glad that they were able to like at least salvage the game.
Yeah, and I would take a guess that it was the caster people who made it. Wasn't like Force Will going to cancel it, and casters like, hey, no. I think most likely it might have been like the cast people in charge of casters like, listen, we don't want to. We can see where this might be headed. We're gonna cut the rope right here. Just let us go do our own thing, so you don't drag us down and then eventually cancel us because you can't support us. We can support ourselves. So I feel like. If I had to guess, I feel like people in charge of casters probably tug themselves away, which I think is going to be better for everyone.
I just want to get one of those Architect demo decks so we can play with it.
I said, I don't know if I said on the podcast, I think they should take Architects, all the art, all the IP and stuff, and make a Vingolf out of it. I think that's the best route to do it with at this point. They have all the art. They paid for it.
I think one of the machines always looked like Architect stuff.
It did.
Anyways, one of the things we were going to mention was... You want to talk about it? Go ahead. It looked like it, Colin. What else did you want to say?
No, that was it. Maybe my video froze on a happy face or something.
Anyways, so we're doing our teaching week things. It was super delayed. There's so much stuff going on. Things were just taking forever for me to even work on it. And,
get out of here.
History Part 1 came out. What?
I said nothing. Go ahead. Mr. I'm so busy, I can't tell. I log in, I'm editing it, and I just see, boop, boop, Oscar's playing some games. Boop, boop, Oscar's playing more games. Look at all these games Oscar's playing.
Listen, it's very difficult to be motivated on something.
And now that's very different from being busy.
No, I said busy, and I said it took me forever to even get it done. That's two different things I've said. Anyways, the first video is finally out. A couple of things I think we kind of missed. I'm surprised after passing it through so many eyes that nobody clicked to it. But like, we didn't even mention the Cheshire Cat art incident.
Oh yeah, yeah, because Oscar writes these scripts and he sends it to like how many people did you send that one to?
Like 4 people.
Man, that's interesting. None of them clicked to Cheshire Cat. Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I used it as an example for like 8 different things in the video.
I know, I saw that.
It's the easiest one because it's one of the only cards that has the old and new like attack and defense and font and stuff like that without it being I guess there was a couple Wander promos, I guess, but that for some reason that's always my go-to.
Also the Ascended cards.
Yeah, I just said as I was saying it, I realized they do Wander League promos that do that. But did you have a chance to watch the video, Josh?
No, I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet. Basically, my YouTube subscriptions, I've got like a week's worth of stuff lined up waiting for me to get home, get back to like a normal schedule. And then I'll just click through and watch. I still got like a million Rudy videos to catch up on because he slams a bunch out during the holidays, and I'm just like, oh, I got no time to watch anything yet, but you'll keep me entertained in January. Thanks, man.
That's how I've been too.
It was hard. It was hard going back and watching it again because Colin's like, "Hey, go double check after he did the animations." I had never seen what he was doing.
Yeah, I was supposed to come out on Saturday for that.
There's so much. Well, yeah, I was busy and I couldn't watch the whole thing in full. So burning my grandma's birthday on Saturday, but it's hard to hear myself again and sit and listen to myself and be like, God, there's so many things I could have rephrased or said differently that it's like so cringy. I'm like going back and watching, like, oh, why did I say it like that? Like no transitions between subjects. We talked about this before the podcast, so it feels weird talking about it again. But like going straight from like the Adam Reiser incident all the way just straight into like, here's the new Alice cluster and here's the new products of it all. Very interesting. Which you don't see Adam anymore. I guess he stopped playing after the Grand Prix where Lapis Cluster started up.
Yeah, it's fair. Well, no, wait, Lapis Cluster? Okay, that's not fair. Post Lapis Cluster, that's fair. But
I mean, he had to invite for that one, so he probably just came, played, and left.
Yeah, it took a long time to do, and it's one of those things. As for me, editing wise, I wasn't expecting it to be 24 minutes long, because when we said this, all the videos are going to be 5 up to maybe 10 minutes. So when he said, "Oh, I got to split history into 2 parts," I was like, oh, "Okay, they're probably like between 5 to 10 minutes a piece." And then he sent me that part 1 is 24 minutes. I don't know how long part 2 is going to be. And just so you guys know, like, let's say I have a 5-minute video I'm editing, like I did with the sets and clusters. I forget, that might have been like 6 or 7 minutes, but I go through, edit it, blank, 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 blank. Go through, watch it again, figure out what else I need to edit, go edit that. Go through, watch it again, make some tweaks here and there, and then watch it again and finalize it. Some variation of that. But I watched through it a bunch of times. That's a lot different with a 24-minute video, because you go through, you edit it. So the previous video, if I were to watch it 4 times over to see how the editing is, that's 20 minutes. To watch this one over and over again is almost 2 hours of just me watching it, not even editing it. So it takes a lot longer. I don't think Oscar understands how exponentially it increases in editing time the longer a video is. So that was a whole thing to edit, and there's only so many ways I could think of to animate stuff in and out. And I figured I ended up, because I personally think it just looks better just doing straight cuts in and out, because I felt like it was less distracting for the amount of information Oscar was throwing at the screen. The less fancy it was, the better.
I started having more fun with the recordings as knowing Colin's editing it. I'm like, so there's this thing now.
Oh my god. Okay.
Right,
no. All right.
There's one more. There's one more where I was doing shouts to everybody at the very end video, like, for helping us out with the video. And I'm like, and Colin for helping us edit stuff. Colin, do something cool. Boo, 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 boo. So get to have fun with that too.
Yeah. No, I'm literally editing. I forget, what was it? You are talking about some sort of card example, and I was editing, so I put up a couple different cards, and I was like, these cards. And then you were like, specifically, for example, these cards on the screen. I was like, no, I already did everything for these other cards. It's irrelevant which ones I was showing on the screen, but for some reason he named those cards specifically, so I had to go and scrap it and do it again. And he did that a couple times where he kept...
I think I did it with Vinko, where I was like, there's a lot of staples that ended up in decks, such as Thunder and, like, Rapid Decay.
There's some of that. No, and there's another one later, and I forget. And then I was listening to it, and gets to one part. If you guys saw the video, you know what I'm talking about. He was like, yeah, no, there's this crazy fiasco at the GP. And I was like, okay, I'll try and find the picture of the guy. And I was going to start Googling it, and so I was listening to it in the background so I knew ahead of time. Like, so this is how the gameplay went. So he had this card on the field, and this card, and this card, and this card. His opponent had this card, and this card, and this card. And then he went through the entire game of what happened there. I was like, oh my god, because this video doesn't exist anymore. So that's when you get to that part where it has the entire field and all the cards to animate in and out and all that stuff. And for the record, he named all the cards on the field. Only 2 of those cards were relevant. All the others were, he could have said, hey, so on the field, all that's relevant, he could have just said, there's a lot of cards on the field, all that's relevant is this Percival and this Lancelot or whatever it was. But instead he named all like 8 cards that were on the field. It's like, and I didn't realize that till I was completely done putting all the cards, because Force of Will's website is super dumb. So every single card image you see, I have to download off of Force of Will's website and then open it up in Paint, resave it, and then delete the old file, and then drag it into the Adobe Premiere Pro, otherwise I can't read it. So all those files are completely, like, unneeded, that I spent a really stupid amount of time putting in there, and measuring to make sure they're all the right size. And
setting up the atmosphere of the game so people understood. But the misplay cost him the game after that turn. Also, as I was watching the video, when I was doing a recap of it, and you're doing your animations, I was like, wow, how many turns in were these guys? Got a lot of cards in the field. There's a lot of stuff. Also, yeah. The video used to exist. There was a the whole traditional overhead camera from World Grand Prix of that year on the channel, and it's all gone. It's like they're just trying to remove the whole fiasco from happening. I was like, this is why I'm kind of glad we're doing these history videos, because nobody can ever find it out jumping into the game right now or anything like that. It was fun stuff. You'll have more fun coming up soon. By the way, 24 minutes for like a quick intro and 2 clusters. We got 3 more clusters to go in history too. So.
Yeah, so that second history video is now going to be the very last video, so that we can have the other Teaching Week videos probably come out this week, hopefully, if nothing happens, and then the history video will hopefully come out the following week. if Oscar gets that to
So,
me.
and a quick adjustment to that for anybody watching, listening, who are following that series or anything, or can tell other people, we were going to do a little teaching segment in there, but I was like, man, that teaching part of teaching how to play the games, that'd be like super long video. I don't know if Colin's gonna want to do that. So I was like, you know what? We'll just redirect to Jeremy's videos that he's doing and be like, go watch this real quick, and then come back.
Yeah, and it works out because we would have just been repetitive to what's going, and his is probably going to be a lot better because it's broken up into all the segments and stuff. So I think that the timing of that works out perfectly. So we'll just insert the links to that as needed.
But yeah,
so
that's that.
So branching off of that, so you started a channel, Josh, I heard.
Yeah.
So you said what the channel was. What inspired you to start a channel?
So one of the big things that we wanted to do is my personal journey that I've had on Force of Will, going from casual to competitive. I feel like there's a lot of gaps in content specifically, and right now there's a lot of stuff that doesn't nurture the competitive fire that a lot of players have, right? So like at the end of the day, most of the community, they don't want to see meta decks. They don't want to see their meta decks in any of your guys' matchups, you know, yours, Jeremy's, you know, any of the other channels. Like, they want to see new, unique things all the time that sometimes might not be relevant, you know, in the competitive scene, right? So what we wanted to do was, as a team, we wanted to just kind of share our journey. So like today, most of us, we're going to release a roster in January. I think January 5 is when we put the deadline of whether or not you're in or out. And then we'll do a video shortly after announcing our entire roster. And when that roster comes out, there are going to be some names on there that you don't know and some that you've heard of before. And so what it'll be is it'll be like a cool experience for anybody that wants to follow us from the beginning. The goal is that a bunch of nobodies, we're going to combine and we're going to help each other to get to the world stage and in turn win the world tournament. It's very hard for casual players to make that jump to competitive right now, just relying on locals or something like that. So you really have to find other people that are willing to put in the grind for you. And so that's kind of what we're doing. I think we've found a good group of people who have all had success in the game, and we are putting them all together, and we are going to kind of take the scene with a collective mind, because we've each functioned on our own up to this point, right? So the idea is we're gonna do matchup specific for meta stuff, and then one of the big things we're gonna do is like every other week we're gonna do like a 7-hour stream on like a Sunday or weekends or something like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna call it the Gauntlet. So something that we do testing naturally is we take some rogue concept, right? Get it? Rogue. We take some rogue concept, something that we've thought of, and we've put a lot of brain juice into it. Like, hey, would it work against X deck? What kind of odds does it get us? What would the deck look like? Something like that. And then we end up building it, right? So the concept is that you run that through what's called the Gauntlet. It's the 5-6 best decks that are currently out there, right? Stuff that you would expect to see at a GP. And what you do is you run it through that, and you see how it comes out on the other end. What were your bad matchups? What were your good matchups? What were your good hands? Did it work in real life like you thought it did on paper? And we want to be able to stream that and share that. So that's one of the big things that we're going to do. And then we're going to chop up that video and throw each of the specific matchups out there. One of the things that Joey wants to do is Joey wants to have a segment where he talks about specific matchups. Like one of the big things that we've been talking about with Ryan Miles is the gear at TSW. There's a lot of disagreements with that specific matchup. Ryan doesn't think it should work ever. History shows that it's worked a lot. And we want to break down specifically why that is. What our theories on that. or specifically even like mirror matches. Like, has anybody gotten on and been like, hey, when you sit down against another time spinning witch, this is what your matchup's going to look like. These are some of the key cards that you're really looking for, you know. And we talk about techs, you know, something that you can do to up some percentages against a specific matchup, you know, going into the real details that you need for competitive events. And I think that's the big thing that we want to do. Aside from that, I have always had a passion in finance, so just part of supplementing content for our channel, I just took this as an opportunity to, yeah, let's just go out there, let's start spitting at a camera, and we'll see if anybody listens, you know. The first one, all I did was I kind of basically shared the same information I shared on your podcast last time, and it went over very well. I think I got some new audience and some old ones. And then also showing physically on that little PDF the numbers that I was talking about in your podcast. It really kind of clicked with a lot of people what I was talking about when I said that the uncommon is more rare than the super rare. You know, they were actually able to put visual on it. So I plan on doing stuff like that. Like specifically the next video I'm going to do is we're going to talk about how I sell cards, what the costing is, and gearing it specifically to selling your WPS rewards, right? So that everyone can get some cash, and Colin can't be so butthurt about it. So I tell you what, Colin, it was very interesting. I didn't realize that when they were sending out the rewards to the not VIPs, Brunhildes are coming out not numbered in rewards. And so like that is absolutely huge. That is absolutely huge. Like I was almost with you when you were complaining about Brunhild and you were like, it is the stamped, it is not duplicated, why is this the one? And I'm like, in my mind I'm like, wow, they decided not to print a lot of Brunhildes, but we've got a crap ton of these other four. I was like, this doesn't make sense. But now we've got some more flooded the market, and I'm like, all right, cool, this is cool. So we've got an interesting thing we're going to do for that for the next video.
I thought that was interesting, too, because when watching the Q&A with Jeff, he had said, here's VIP rewards, and then also, like, was it A, Class A, whatever it is, here's your rewards plus the Brunhild, and I was like, weird, they're still giving out that VIP reward, but non-stamped, it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Obviously, there's still less Brunhildes in circulation. So of the 5, anybody that is not getting the VIP, that is the one to get. It should carry the most value. It's probably one of the most competitive of them all too. So it should probably get ate up pretty good by the market.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the plan. We're gonna do that. I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to though is I'm looking forward to when we launch our Patreon. Right. So the idea with the Patreon is it's something that Jeremy's channel originally did. Was his Discord channel was specific to just the patrons, right? And I think that's something that we want to do as a competitive team, is we want to have an environment for anybody that is choosing to donate for us. We want to have an environment for them to play meta. Currently, a lot of casuals, a lot of locals, even online play, you'll get a lot of people that just automatically get out of a game when you show up with a meta deck. So if nobody has the connections with anybody grinding very hard on the competitive scene, it's very hard to get those kind of matches in that you need to. Like specifically what I was talking about, where I magically found JPK online, and I was finally able to get a little fair practice back when fair was a deck, you know. We want to create an environment for competitive players to grow. We feel like there's a big gap right now between the known players and the rest of the field, right? Ryan Miles just shows up with whatever he wants and wins GP. That's not cool. He needs competition. Like, that's not right. So, you know, Ryan, outside of being a very good player, has his brother and has a community that nurtures his desire to be the best, right? We want to build that same thing. It's something that I'm extremely grateful that I accidentally found. Being a part of this team is just such a blessing for me. I've progressed so much as a player just in the talks that I've had already with this team. It's obviously producing results already, and we want to share that with more people that are in the same boat that I was in.
Yeah, I was say, like, it was really cool seeing it because I was introduced to it when you posted on the US group about the finances video. I was like, oh, cool! Like, we finally have a finance video that we can go to. Like, it was something I've been talking to Colin. Like, I went and marked numbers down, but it's like I lacked the motivation to even want to make the video after looking at all the numbers and how like you gather the information away. I was gonna do it the way Jay Wheeler had done it, where he did top 10 and all that. And I was gonna even break it down for like the cards that are in the market that are sold out, that they're just none posted. But it's like the second you mark those down, you have to make that video within like 4 to 5 days, or else it's just irrelevant after that. So it was very difficult. And when I saw you were doing it, I was like, oh, cool. There we go. What does advertise this channel? Make sure everybody goes check that out, because that's exactly what I was wanting to do. And it's always cool seeing other content creators pop up. Like our Teaching Week video has a content source where I go through all the content creators, and then I recorded that a week or so ago. And now you're here, and I'm like, oh, well, I got to go add that one in. And then like I'm thinking that, and then like 2 other videos popped up in the US group. One of them's giving away QR codes, and I was like, there's another content creator. You know what? Let's hurry up and get this video out. So I can't cover all of them. Everybody just keeps popping up everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, make sure you get us in there, though.
Oh yeah.
I understand the other two.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it'll be an awesome journey. I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, honestly, like I think Team Rogue's gonna kind of make some waves this year. It'll be very fun.
Hopefully, run into you at a GP of some sort.
Absolutely. Hey, Colin.
I had to actually play.
Colin, we're gonna make pandas good. All right, buddy.
I'll be part of that weekend guild stream. See if you guys can beat my panda deck.
That's something that like one of the tiers that we want to do is like one of the top tiers for Patreon would be actually being able to run the gauntlet yourself. You know, it's just like 5 or 6 different teammates. We'll each pilot a meta deck and just like you go at it. You know, 6 hours, run the gauntlet, have fun. You know.
That'd be hilarious. That's awesome.
So, real quick, you had mentioned in there how like there was no real content creators who did, I guess, meta games where it's like here's that top deck against something else. There was a point actually right during Shahrazad's like rise and like she's becoming the thing, where I was like, Colin, we should do that. Like I'll always pilot Sherry and you just put her up against everything you've got. But I think Roller School actually beat us to it and started doing that. But then that's when like the communities on Facebook like backlashed against it. Like, why is every video like that I see on YouTube a Scheherazade deck? I don't want to see that. And I was like, well, this is good. We didn't end up doing that.
No, exactly. And that's the point. But oddly enough, those same people that complain about that, they're not going to succeed at a GP. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you have to know how those decks work. I don't care if you like them or if you don't like them. If they're going to show up and they're going to try to win a tournament, you got to figure out how to beat it. You got to either figure out how to beat it or pilot it better than your opponents. And you can't just complain about a deck and go win a GP. That's just not how this works, right? So that's the environment that we're going to create. And it's going to be a very specific market. We're not going to go for the masses. You know, we're going to go for the ones that want to improve their play and produce results. You know, we're looking for that fiery, competitive, spiky person. That's who we're gonna nurture.
So
like,
not Oscar.
I'll give you an example. So, like, one of the things that I've really enjoyed, and one of the things that inspired a lot of this, is Ryan Miles himself, right? So Ryan Miles has been stepping out of his like awesomeness and coming and showing us some stuff, right? So like, there's been a couple things that he's done, and specifically I texted him about one. He was doing a 7-hour gameplay with friends or whatever, and he was goofing around or whatever. About 4 hours into it, he's tanked. He doesn't remember this. But I ended up texting him because I was listening to it in the background at work, right? He talks through a play where he has a Lorite 7 Disciple in hand and an Akoga village on the field, right? And he talks through his play options, and he says, you know, I have the ability to play a Lorite 7 Disciple, swing into this, deal first strike damage, gain life, then blink out my Lorite 7 Disciples before damage is returned. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. There's totally a priority sequence, or there's a priority sequence between first strike damage and regular damage that allows you to totally take advantage of that. Holy crap, I had no idea. I never even thought of that. Nobody has ever shown me before that, like, that is a play line. you know. And these are the kinds of things that it's just like, oh crap, that is super impressive. That is something that I had never thought about. I knew the rules. I knew that that was a thing. I just had never thought about it. And he, drunk 4 hours into a thing, says it, and I'm like, dude, thanks, man. You made me a better player. Yeah. You know, and that's some of the things that we want to also share. You know?
The time spending witch thing, I didn't realize, like, Mosasaurus with time distortion, like, Mosasaurus skips the next recovery phase, but then you skip that recovery phase and it waits a whole cycle. That's something I didn't realize until the 5K WGPQ. I was like, oh, because Jeremy talked about it on stream. I was like, that's mind blowing. I jumped in chat, talking, calling Joey's ears off like that. I can't believe that was a thing. Like, I get what you're saying. Like, that's stuff that, like, as a player, I would totally love to see. Like, things that I did not realize could be great.
Yeah, there's, and I mean, this is all stuff that, like, especially as a new player when I was coming into the game from Magic, I had to, like, there was like 2 months where I had to learn that there is that whole phase between drawing a card and recovering that you can abuse the crap out of this game as compared to Magic, right? And it took me 2 months to like realize, like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that I can do here. I have to be focused here. Don't let anything go that's free, you know? And so, you know, that kind of conditioning of what you can and cannot do. You know, when we talk about the chain of events, when that judge test came out, I ended up passing the judge test, but one of the questions I got wrong was on that Charlotte's Water Transformation Magic. Didn't exactly understand how that when I cast that it's just a 4/4 bear. All continuous effects that were done before that card, it doesn't care about. It's a 4/4 bear, period. So then in one of my OGP matches, a dude put a magic screw on one of his artifact creatures. Target resonator gains +9/+9, right? And I have a bear magic in hand, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I bear that, it's just going to be a 4/4. Doesn't matter if it has the screw on it or not. Like, that's still just going to be a 4/4. So it's like knowing what the rules allow you to get away with, what the priority sequences allow you to get away with. They open up so many more play lines that a lot of times just people miss, you know?
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's probably wind down. We're right at the edge now.
You fit it all in. No, that'll be cool to see all that come up. I was actually there when you were playing that bear situation. I walked away, came back, and heard you like waiting for a judge. Like, what's going on? It's like you're waiting for the confirmation on that. But
dude, I will say that match actually that was a huge error by myself and my opponent. We were actually playing Captain Hook like I was able to bounce his basic stones.
Okay.
And we didn't even catch it the whole time that we were playing.
Yeah.
I played a Captain Hook, and I'm like, yeah, 2 stones back. And he's like, yeah, I scoop next game. And then we're play a Captain Hook, hit the 2 stones that I actually can. Those go back. Second Captain Hook comes down. I'm like, yeah, 2 basics. He's like, yeah, no scoop, I lose.
Yeah.
And then, like, next day, we post the video online, and I'm like, hey, look at top 16 match. And one of the comments is like, Hook's able to bounce basic stones now? And I'm like, oh, God, no, I didn't. Oh, I was like, crap. And it's just one of those things when you're playing in the game. It's up to the 2 players to maintain the game state. If there is not a judge watching over your shoulder, then whatever you 2 decide the game is, the game is. You know, if you guys both agree on it, it's what it is. So, you know, that was one of those situations that kind of sucked. It kind of put a bad taste in my mouth because I didn't like making a mistake like that. You know?
Yeah, it's tough to deal with. But I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. And thank you for joining us. Make sure you go check him out. Again, link in the description down below somewhere, right? And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.